What's up? This is Drex One. Welcome to another episode of the History of the Bay podcast, sponsored by the good folks of Amoeba Music San Francisco. Make sure you support your local record stores. Also sponsored by the folks at Dying Breed San Francisco for your local gear as well as your graffiti supplies. In the building behind the lens, we got Rocky Vision, we got King Said, we got Dio on the board. Shout out to the producer, Skino. And today, I'm really excited because we have two special guests, some dope rap cats from the Bay Area, AWAX and Big Tone. What up with it?
Salute, man.
Thank you, brothers, for coming through.
Appreciate you having us, man.
Yeah, for sure. This is going to be dope. I wanted to get both of y'all on at once because you guys just dropped a new project. And I feel like y'all got good chemistry and some shared history.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, we got Pittsburg and Antioch. Mm-hmm. And what were those places like for y'all growing up back in the day?
What sparked it, are you?
Pittsburgh, I could speak on Pittsburgh. I used to be in Antioch a lot, but like Pittsburgh is a small town, so you know, it got its nice parts of town and its ran down parts of town. There's a lot of, like, growing up, I had a good childhood growing up. Like, I didn't realize we was poor or nothing like that. I just made the best of it every day. Went out there, got in the mix when I was a youngin', you know what I mean? So I think Pittsburgh was a good place to grow up for me at the particular time in life when I grew up in there. So overall, it was just, I would say, typical childhood for me in Pittsburgh. It was just a nice place to live.
We had Pittsburg Antioch rivalry, though.
Yeah.
That was like, so it's a small town. We right next to each other, man. So like on, beyond the street shit, it was like on some football, you know, Pittsburg Antioch always having a rivalry. So yeah, we always had that growing up, man. But we neighbors, we right next door, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we trying to take each other bitches down and shit and go to other schools and all that shit. We was up with all that. So it's always was like a, not a big rivalry. Like when we go to like juvenile hall when we kids, Pittsburgh, we had a rivalry with like Richmond. It was up with anyone from Richmond because we share the same facility when we get locked up. So like we didn't have problems with Antioch when we went to jail or nothing. We clicked up with each other, but on the streets when we was kids, we had like a little unspoken rivalry between each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's all Contra Costa County.
Yeah.
It's all 925. It used to be 415 at one point.
It used to be 510.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, I see a lot of people try to like, to me, it's hating when they say that Pittsburgh ain't the Bay or Antioch ain't the Bay. Y'all ever hear that?
I mean, it's geographical facts, man. Go look at the map. I mean, shit. I guess like you can have an opinion on anything, you know. The Earth is flat too, you know. I don't know.
Yeah. It's the Bay to me, but I be shooting that same argument at San Jose and places too, so I get it.
You always call it like,
hey, little shade of San Jose.
We get a little.
I've always called it the Deep East Bay. Like we're the cut. We're like the last of the last, armpit of the Bay, man. That's what we'd always say. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I was curious because that y'all mentioned that rivalry, because for y'all to come together on a project, is that kind of a big deal to link those two towns?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, we're from that time, from the same era, so, and you know, it all stems from our brother Woodie, you know, rest in peace. A lot of people know the history on that you know us, and it stems from that, and me and him are from that same area, and, you know, we both have our own, our own thing going, you know, and then we done well for ourselves, and then when we brought it together, it was just that much more powerful, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a continuation of what I was doing with Woodie and all the work we used to do early on in both of our respective careers, so that's a good thing to see it come full circle and still see the influences from Woodie still carrying over today into the work we do.
Yeah, I think that's really dope that y'all are doing that and continuing that. A lot of rap cats that have been around for a while, I feel like they get, when people bring up their classic shit or the shit they used to be a part of, it like, man, that's old, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But y'all are like embracing it and giving it some new life.
Yeah, can't forget where we came from in the music game, and you know, the music overall sound changes up, so we incorporate new stuff into the music we do together with some old school vibes and inspiration from it. Because, I mean, it's the same recipe as always. People always been taking old school music and putting new twists on it. So it's not like we reinventing the wheel or nothing. We just doing it with our inspirations and what was the sound that we thought was the top sound in music when we was growing up. We trying to bring some of that into it.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear y'all flipped Dre Dogg's Killer Whale on the new joint. I thought that was pretty ill. That kind of surprised me. What were some of like the influences that y'all were coming up to rap-wise?
I think when me and him sat down and like talked about doing this project, we're like, man, let's attack like our core fan base that grew up on us. Let's feed them something that they gonna fuck with. You know what I'm saying? And mix it like we gotta throw, you know, a little like a roller coaster of sounds. You know what I mean? We're gonna try to keep some shit that's, you know, current, and then but we wanted to target like that old school fan base, you know what I'm saying? What they expect from us. Like people, I grew up on y'all and we get, you know, it brought back, that's why our main first song put out Nostalgic Days. I just wanted that nostalgic feeling to hit, you know, resonate with them, you know what I mean?
And we used to listen to everything. Back in the days, it used to be like, we used to have CDs we listen to, so we'll have the CD in sections, like this Frisco rappers, this Oakland rappers, Pittsburg rappers. That's how
tapes, man. What you mean?
Tapes too.
From that time.
It'll be organized like that.
Tapes in the pocket.
I was influenced on everything. Just if you pick a city and point one out, I'm gonna tell you 10, 15 artists I listen to, especially the bigger cities, but the lesser known ones. I was up on all the music scene out here when I was young. I kept up on everything pretty much.
It was up back then too. The Bay Area rap scene was huge in our time coming up, man. Especially Frisco. You know, Sacramento had its thing going, but Frisco was up. You know what I mean? Vallejo and Frisco.
So like that, the Dre Dogg albums and all that. Those were all like you get in any car. It doesn't matter if it was Tone car, Woodie car, my shit.
Rotation.
It's gonna be the same music in the deck and in the spindles anyway. So we was all on like that Killer Whale. We grew up on that shit, man.
Especially the bass lines, anything that hit hard. We finna go pull up on the scene, hit rewind, back to that song, man. That shit thunder. Cause everybody had slap in their car back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that era that you're talking about, the fact that we were all fans of these same type of artists, it kind of brought the Bay together. That common interest, that common knowledge about some of these cats that were around. Yeah, it was like because I traveled a lot too, so I got to see how it extended, how far it extended. Like when I first realized like the difference between regional music or something that's a real big radio hit on the radio airwaves. Like when I was young and I traveled, I thought that the big songs that was big to me in the streets was the same on the radio, and it wasn't like that when you go different areas. But you do see how far the Bay Area sound was getting out there, even when I was a kid, like RBL and everybody and Spice One. They were big artists back then. I just didn't know the difference in them from somebody like UDI or something that was had a lot of steam out here where I was from, but not so much on the airwaves. So that's a good thing too. Bay always had like a secret society of musicians before it had actually a big following and was recognized as a certain genre of music. It was like its own little cult world underground where it was always, I could always name good 50 dope artists that nobody knew about from the Bay when I was coming up.
UDI, motherfuckers don't know nothing about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cobra Hustlers, the whole shit like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And the biggest to the smallest, I used to buy everything in the store. Yeah, 211. I used to buy anything that I could see, but back then too, it was something simple as I could see your graphic designer is the same graphic designer that did RBL Posse music, so I'm gonna grab your shit and take a chance on it based on that. Like, so a lot of that's lost in the game today.
Yeah, cracking the CD open and reading the credits, seeing the producers, the shout outs, and
where
all
it was
that.
Mixed and mastered. Yeah. A part of that also was a cheat code to get into the industry. It wasn't a lot of, you couldn't just call around like who got a studio. It was kind of harder to get into the fold, but being able to read them credits, you could say, all right, here go the number for this guy to do my cover, or this studio, I could go in there and mix and record. So you used to use that as a map too before you had Google and all the
You had to really invest in yourself too, because that shit cost. It wasn't like so accessible to everybody now. If you was gonna do this, you had to have some money behind you, or have people that believe in you to put some money behind you. So if you was gonna go rent the studio time, print the 1,000, 2,000 CDs, pay the graphic designer, pay for the mixing and mastering, that shit was all a bag back then. You know what I'm saying? Now motherfuckers do this shit quick on their computer and just drop it.
On the phone.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, back then, that's why I think it was less saturated too. Like you had to be for real about it if you was going in like that.
You had to know some dope boys, man. It believed in you.
A lot of ballers made that flip back in the day.
Yeah, shout out all the D-boys that try to put that rapper homie on through the years, man. Salute.
Well, I think that's smart that y'all are tapping into some of that nostalgia and updating it, because that's a big part of what I do with the content is paying homage to a lot of those groups and being surprised at all the people around the world that are like, oh, fuck with that. Can you talk about this? Can you talk about that? So I'm like, I'm seeing that like, man, they're still hungry for that type of shit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you enlighten, you putting the spotlight on that era, you know what I mean? That's dope.
Right on.
It make people revisit the old catalogs and the early work, and then they discover that on their own too, because a lot of the younger fans is only seeing the music we do today.
Yeah.
So that's a blessing too.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a disconnect between the youngsters, but I feel like the gap is getting a little closed now with cats like y'all still mashing it and putting stuff out. Mm-hmm. And as we're talking about the music scene back in the day, what was your first entry into, before it was even like the business and the hustle of music, like even just writing raps and realizing that you actually had talents to pursue?
Go ahead, bro. I got a cooler story than I do.
I used to gangbang, so I used to just ride around with my homies smoking weed, and we'd freestyle like gang shit, like what we gonna do when we see such and such, and then we just talk that shit in the car riding around, and then it just expanded off that. But that's how the seed first got planted for me, just bullshitting.
But did your homies also like kind of hear your shit and be like, oh, you kind of dope, bro?
Yeah, for sure. One of my homies that used to do that with me, my homie Slowpoke, he used to go cut demos in studios and whatnot. So he was like, man, I got to bring you up here one of these days and get you in the actual studio. And that never came of it, but we always talked about it. So even when I was in jail, all of my homies was like, man, keep writing in there. You too dope with that. Like, so I always knew it. I had enough positive reinforcement from people in my circle to know I had to, if I took it serious, I could probably do something with it.
And you went to prison at a young age, right?
Yeah. I went to prison when I was 16. I got tried as an adult, so I wasn't doing the typical high school courses and whatnot. I went study for my GED in the pen and got my education just through the programs they had available to me in there, and then just locked in on my writing too. Like I didn't have beats or nothing, so I trained my brain to separate vocals from a beat. So when I would listen to somebody else's music, I would just hear just the beat and block the words out, and I could write. I learned how to write like that. So
we still do that shit.
Yeah,
motherfucker be like, I don't need the beat, man. Don't trip. Y'all do your thing. You be writing verses and shit.
Still cooking up the same way, man.
What about you, Tone? What was your beginning?
My introduction was just crazy, bro. I never really thought about doing it. I was kind of late in the game when I started rapping. I was just like already a young cat just out here wilding, bro. I was already pushing my little getting money, you know what I mean? Kind of on some hood star shit, you know what I mean? The homie pulling up in a propane Cadillac on Go Ones already as a teenager, you know, had that whole little squad. I don't know, just the respect of the people, you know what I'm saying? So I think it was easy for me to fall into it because I felt like I could never just like rap. Like I just hear cats come in and just be gassing, and I'd be like, damn, that fool dope, but I just talk some shit, just some real shit that was going on, and motherfuckers like, yeah, that shit was hard, you know what I mean? And really, I went and did just like my first song, met a homie that was producing, and went and did a song, and my boy Woodie heard it, and just Wood's like, bro, I need you on my Northern Expozure, and it was just like that, went up, bro. So I kind of fell into it a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a pretty quick transition from just fucking around to actually being on an established 20 years old artist record.
And then I'm just one of those dudes that's like a hustler, bro. Like anything I put my mind to, I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I went to one studio, I looked, I'm like, man, I could do all this shit. I just started getting everything, set up a little studio. I was still in mama's garage because I was like maybe 17, 18 or something. I was back at home and put a little studio in mama's garage, man, and started half my project there, and then went up. Wax pulled up in there, man. He came in there. We had a little hood spot. That was a kicking spot.
And he throwing in, he telling you the gist of it. He taught himself how to do everything too. He got himself a little studio. He talking about the little studio. He knew how to record, mix, master, like
all that shit, bro. I still found books. Remember I showed at the studio? I was like, look, I found some old school books. I go, anything, like I said, I want to learn, I would just teach myself, bro. Just educate myself on that shit.
Yeah. That's what Woodie did too. Like Woodie, everything.
Wood taught me a lot too, though.
Wood would be the person engineering, mix it, ghost write, jump on the hook, do a ghost track, he'll bounce it down. And another thing, after every session I ever did with Woodie, he would never burn me a CD of the song, but 3-4 days later, I get one in the mail. He'll put a stamp on it and send it the old school way through the mail. And I
want to make sure it's mixed or something right, huh?
Yeah, I'd always get that CD in the mail after every session. He never skipped a session with me like that, too.
Yeah, no, that's true. I did take that learning from what, like I said, man, I soaked that watching him, and I was like, man, you just like not monkey see, monkey do type of shit, but hey, I seen that motherfucker on the boards and mixing, I could learn this shit too, man. I feel like I could do anything somebody could do back then. You know, when you're young and ambitious, man, you see the D-boy getting money, I could do that too.
Hold on.
You know what I'm saying? These dudes rapping, man, I could do that shit too. Facts. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I was always kind of in that mind frame. And still to this day, it carries over, because I get in the studio, even with bruh, I'm like, fuck, man, I be writing, thinking this shit hard, and he just get in the booth and just murder some shit. I'm like, damn, I really got to go back to the drawing board and put some thought behind this motherfucker, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I just go in there talking my shit sometimes.
Well, I think what you're saying is important for anyone out there listening. Like, you got to have the confidence to do this shit.
Straight up.
To me, personally, what I've seen is talent is secondary compared to your hustle. Mm-hmm. And to have a good hustle, you actually got to believe you can do the shit in the first place. And so somebody might be a brilliant writer and might have natural talent, but if you're second-guessing yourself, somebody that got some big nuts and can just say some simple shit like he means it is going to flame that other person every time.
People ain't going to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself, you know?
And then not even to mention the business aspect. When you actually get into the business and you start, and there's bread on the line, you really got to believe you can make that shit shake.
I feel like it's like that with anything, though, not just music. It could be any kind of powerful speaker, bro. It's just your personality. If people listen to you, if they find you intriguing, if they're interested in what you got to say, you know, if you got a voice, I feel like it's somewhat of a blessing, you know what I mean? Just you got to have something about you that people want to hear, and that's why certain artists get hated on. I could rap better than him, but he has something you don't have. You know, these dudes may not be the talented person, but they have this whole package. That's why they're blowing up. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So you spoke on Woodie, and rest in peace, Woodie. That's something I wanted to talk about with y'all, because I was a big fan of Woodie, and to me, Woodie, like that Bay Area rap that we're talking about, he has his place right in there. On the independent tip, as a business owner, as a record label owner, as a producer with his own unique sound, as a rapper that could produce for himself, like you said, mix, engineer, all that, and he had bars, and he had something to say. It wasn't just mindless gangbanging on wax. Dude was talking about some real issues, and he had versatility. But people would look at me like, what the fuck is you listening to, blood? Like, it went over people's head because it's a white Norteño from Antioch. That's kind of hard to relate to if you don't, you know, if you're not open-minded or if you don't know about that. You know what I mean?
He came with his own sound, too, in that moment. Like the rap that was coming out of people from his circle and his side of the streets wasn't sounding like the music he started putting out. He brought a whole new sound to it. Music sounded a certain way from where his side, before he came along. He came with a whole new sound, and it just was like, you couldn't compare it to nothing else. It just had its Bay Area roots, but it was real gangbanging stories and real, but also intelligent. He didn't just spit ignorant gangbanging stories. He was educated gang member stories and shit. Like, he'll talk about.
And they had real backstories to it too, though. So they had substance, and like you said, he knew how to word it perfectly. He knew how to paint that picture, man. You know what I'm saying? That's
why it was so for us. The way me and Tone was around it and seeing that music is probably different from the average listener, because we being true to being true to your lyrics and your music, and actually being the same as in real life as you is to the message you throwing out there, it's rare in the music industry. And back then, it was something that everybody held on to too. So to actually know him and know he really stood on what he was talking about, and that was the real him. Even when he talked about the government conspiracies and shit, he really felt that shit. Like just kicking it with him on some regular shit, he'll talk to you for hours about some shit like that. Like it wasn't something he just threw in a rap because another word rhymed with it or something. What he rapped about, he really felt that shit in his heart, and he really lived that shit. So I had an appreciation for his music on a whole nother level. Before I was even a fan of his music, I got to know him and was a fan of him. And then when I heard the music, I heard it in a whole new light, and it really just fucked my brain up. Like, oh shit, this shit fire.
Right.
But when I first heard it, it was like beer. It was like an acquired taste. I didn't take to his music when I first heard it. I had to really come around him and see, man, what's going on? Like,
right.
And then I was like, oh shit, like now I get it. It took a minute to click. And then once I heard everything, I'm like, man, I started diving deeper into his music and listening to what he be saying. He always was ahead of his time, in my opinion, with the music.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, when I first heard him, bro, that shit blew my mind. Cause like you said, it's going back to our culture. Back then, gangbanging rap.
Yeah.
Latinos, Mexicans rap was kind of like super cholo on music.
Sure.
Like, you know, that was our swag. I listened to that shit, you know what I'm saying?
Some Kid Frost type of
I mean, that was more Southern California. We had like Dark Room Familia up here, you know, Sir, I don't know if you're familiar. That's a whole different time.
Right.
But that's what we were used to hearing. And then, like I said, when Wood came out, he just came on some, like, gas, and he just started, you know, spitting. Like, because we grew up on the Bay Area rap, too. So when we heard that, it blew my mind. And then, you know, we had, like, you know, Black and Brown Entertainment out here, and Mousy and Gold Toes doing this shit, and it all was coming from that, you know, same time type of shit. So it was dope to you know, see that, like, fuck that. And especially being from my town. And you're right, bro. When I first heard it, though, they're like, man, this homie Wood. I remember the homie first let me hear this his tape, The Yak Affluence. I was like, some white boy homie. And at first, I'm thinking, we the motherfuckers out here running around. We young, you know. He's 7, 8 years older than me. Man, I don't know this motherfucker. I don't want to hear that shit. And then I remember the same thing with you, too, though, when I heard your music. But I remember, bro, gave me the tape. I popped it in. And it just blew my mind. I'm like, fuck, that motherfucker's gassing. And then once I started putting 2 and 2 together, oh shit, this is so-and-so that was connected with this, or this shit that was going down with them. And then like, yeah, that's the homie that fucks with so-and-so. You do your homework. And it wasn't like social media. Everything you had to be connected through somebody back then.
Right.
Yeah.
And it all started making sense. And I'm just like, fuck. So these lyrics started going real deep with personal, like just knowing this shit, and then I became like a fan. This is before I even knew him too. I was like a big ass fan. I was slapping that shit on a daily. You know what I'm saying?
Was he the first rapper on wax out of Antioch?
There was some not kicking up dust, like they technically put something out, probably like 50 tapes or CDs to their friends or something, but he was the first.
He was the first
rapper.
He was the first one to get known, I would say, to get known, to make that kind of noise. You know what I'm saying?
Not a rap scene out there before him, and he left one wide open out there. So a lot of it's always, like I said, when we had our spindles back in the day with different cities and their CDs, it wasn't no Antioch, just him to start, and then it started expanding through him and his work, I would say.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, y'all had more of a rap scene than we did, I think.
Yeah, we had J-Lo and them back in the day, and some
Two of the crew.
I remember I was telling Wax, too. I remember the first time, and I'm like, man, I hope Wax don't get offended, but I remember the first time the homie brought his music. Like, bro, you gotta hear my boy Wax. And I was like on that arrogant shit when I was like, I don't wanna hear that motherfucker, bro. Come on, bro. You gonna play this shit for real? And he was trying to slap it, and I was not trying. I was kind of just like, man. But then I heard that shit. I'm like, fuck, okay, homie's going in. He caught my attention a little fast, you know what I'm saying?
I'm like that today. Everybody want to play their shit today.
It's rare, though, that happens, though. It's just hard catching it. You start really fucking with it, you know what I'm saying? And then plus you have some, you know, validated cats fucking bringing it to your attention, so that goes a long way, too, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, Northern Expozure. So I was in Stockton a couple months ago, and I was trying to get off some CDs, because I still sell CDs. I was trying to get some off in JT's record shop in Stockton. And I went in there and I said, what's selling right now? And he said, this right here, Northern Expozure.
Yeah.
I said, damn, that's like a 20-something-year-old album. It's all streaming and everything, but it's like that series is still moving units. See, that's the other thing that, like, this is why I feel it's important to talk about. People sleep on Woody, but, like, dude moves some units independently through his own record label. So those compilations are foundational. So how did it feel for y'all to get that call to jump on those projects?
For me, it was, we didn't know, in the moment when we was making them projects, we didn't know what they was going to become or how long they'd be around or anything. It was just doing the song, cracking some Henny with the homies, talking shit, doing the song, bro. In the moment, we didn't realize the impact that it having. We also didn't know how long would it be around us. You young, you assume everyone around you gonna be there forever. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was just the same as doing any song, bro. We just had fun, made some music together.
Well, where were you at in your career at that time? Had you already started doing your solo thing, or was...
I was recording for my solo. My first solo I put out, half of the project was recorded in the pen. Then I got out and I didn't have beats to mix them properly, and I was learning, so I just re-recorded half of the songs.
You recorded half of your album in the pen?
Yeah.
Like, were you like doing, like, going against the grain to do that, or was there a studio in there? Or?
We had guards. We would pay guards off. I paid a guard
on your X-rated wiggle.
Yeah, we do street to streets with guards. So a guard wanted anything. He wanted the new Jordans or something. We'll have somebody we know on the street send him to someone he know on the street. So neither of us are connected.
That's impressive because you really gotta wanna do that shit to go through all that while you're locked up.
Yeah, like it wasn't cheap. Like we're $500 every couple of weeks, $1,000. But he also knew we wasn't the typical. I wasn't the typical person asking him to smuggle shit in. Would just bring me a bunch of dope and some phones and shit. Right. Like I'm trying to do something else. So it was a cool guard I had in there.
So you're locked up. Your whole youth is going by, and you're thinking, man, I gotta make some shit happen. With this music. As soon as I get out, I gotta get it cracking. Because I go in, I'm 16, I'm seeing people on first 5-6 years down, I'm just seeing the same people come in 3-4 times. I'm seeing the same face. We was just happy he was about to get out. Now he back 2 weeks later. Then he in there for another year and a half. He get out, we happy to see him go. He back 2 months later, like on another bid too, not getting flashed on no violations. And I always been big on pattern recognition. When I see that, I'm like, damn, this is something that's frequent when you're in the pen and you're on a long stretch. You're going to be seeing the same people come. They call it the rotating door in that motherfucker. It's hard to get out that rotating door. It's easy to get in there and it's hard to get up out of there. So once I put them together, I was like, look, I need to figure something a little smarter out for myself to not get trapped in that same rotating door. Respect. I mean, that takes a lot to have that kind of realization. Cause otherwise, like you said, that revolving door, you could have easily just been another statistic. And I feel like you kind of have to want a career in music that badly to really make it happen. You got
for sure. You gotta care about your future more than you care about what people around you think. That was one of the hardest things for me back then. Because when I was getting short to the house, like my homies I grew up with was in there, and like little shit would happen. We'll be on the basketball court, a ball would bounce by me too fast, and if I had time, we finna turn it up over that. But when you got the 60 days to the house, the basketball flying by, like, man, fuck that shit. I'm about to be up out of here. You know what I mean? So having to be able to stand on my own feet and not give a fuck about what anyone said or nothing, and know what I got to do to get my life where I want it to be, and just not giving a fuck about other people's opinions or any peer pressure and nothing. That was a big part of me growing up that I had to learn to do before I could do music and dive into it.
That's what's up. So you were already pursuing your solo career before you jumped on?
Yeah, in my head, I was pursuing it from the time I went down, from like when I was like 16. But it just took like 6 years to get going, 5-6 years.
Right. But Tone, your first entry into the game, or like you say, you're recording on your own, but to really get on the actual project was through Woodie's joint, right?
Yeah. Pretty much, just recorded a song, showed it to him. I remember we pulled up, one of my homies was like, he knew Wood pretty well, he gave him a call. I was like, man, we got to show you the song we did. And we just showed him the song. And he was like, he just looked at me and said, bro, I love to have you on my Northern Expozure. To me, I felt like I made it. I was like, I'm finna get all the things now, boy, I'm on, you know what I'm saying? But that was a good feeling. It felt like an accomplishment, you know, for sure, because I was a fan beyond anything. But, you know, it was definitely you know, hit the ground running. He gave me that's why I pay homage to him beyond friendship. Like, that changed my life because it gave me something like a goal. Like, I didn't really have my D-boy dreams, you know what I'm saying? The influence I had around me was just on some gang shit, you know what I mean? So it gave me something like, man, I could do something. I could make this happen. And, you know, when you're a hustler, your mind starts turning on what you could do with shit, you know? It changed, you know, my direction on what I was doing. And I was able to help a lot of other people because of that. You know what I'm saying? So,
right. Because you started your own label, correct? Sav It Out.
Yeah, people don't know I didn't use Wood for anything on my album. All I did was I submitted a song. He didn't produce it. He didn't do nothing. I submitted the song, did it in my own studio, mixed everything, gave it to him. He dropped it. That's still one of my most popular songs to the day. It's called The Good Life. And I record my own projects. All he did was come feature on a couple of tracks. He didn't produce nothing. I kind of wanted to be self-sufficient because I came friends with him more than business. We kicked it way more than we worked. And I would say there was not a lot of people. There's certain people with their hands out, like waiting. What's next? Could you do for me? You know, I wasn't gonna be one of those dudes sitting around waiting for, you know, hey, do this for me, do that. I'm take the bull by the horns and do my own shit. You know what I'm saying? And just built that mutual respect and connection. And, you know, to this day, I still rep them. You know, I'm rep what we do.
That's what's up, because hearing that story makes me think like you probably were following some of his cues where this dude wasn't waiting on nobody.
For sure. Yeah. And
he had his own label, his own beats, everything. So instead of, like you said, waiting for him to put you on again on another track or another album, whatever, you're like, I'm finna take this blueprint
for sure
and put my own projects out under my own label.
He gave me a lot of game, bro. There's countless conversations where I would just ask him, bro, like this and that. Like I looked at him as a mentor. Like it wasn't just like I'm gonna do my own thing, you do yours. No, like I want to show you I could do this, but I want to learn from you too. Like he was pretty much my mentor. You know what I'm saying?
He didn't hide the plugs neither. He had a master list of all the direct CD stores that we sold to and whatnot. He gave us the list. He gave us all the tools and resources to get money on our own. He wasn't trying to do it for us for a percentage or anything. He was just genuinely happy other people was in music with him and wanted to learn the stuff that he learned. He wanted to pass that knowledge on. So I seen that in him too, and it was fun to be under his guidance and tutelage for doing the music industry, because he was hands-on with everything aside from creating the music. He was the same way in manufacturing CDs, having a direct relationship with the buyers at these mom and pop stores that we talk about. All those little things mattered, and them are also things that I learned from him. That it's lost in today's music industry because you don't have to deal with the physical aspect of it, but it still was. It still carries over into doing business
a little bit. Yeah. It's definitely a different game, but like. To really be successful as an independent artist, you gotta love the business about as much as you love the music. You can't shy away from like you said, like some cats will take a look at like a list of CD distributors or whatever and be like, oh man, I gotta call all these people. Yeah. I ain't finna do that, man.
I think it's different. It's like you're pushing dope. Like you cop something now. You got all these boxes of CDs back then, 1,000, 2,000 CDs. I remember we were putting up to 5,000. You know what I mean? We're putting 5,000 CDs. That's a lot of boxes, bro. Them jewel cases. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a lot of work to push. So you're trying to find any outlet to get those going. You know what I'm saying?
Whether that's merch or anything, you got a bunch of inventory sitting on your shelves. That's burning a hole in your pocket. That's money that you just leaving on the floor.
You're right. It separates the real from the fake. Who wants it? Who's gonna hustle? You know what I mean? It's easy to be like, yeah, let's get this shit popping, but I just want to see what it does and kick back. Now you could do that, you know, for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, and get lucky and catch a wave. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, even then, that shit don't last long, man. You could be viral for a year, and then the next year you be a cold fish, man.
Yeah. It definitely takes a lot of work to stay consistent, and you know, not just. I think there's other things to follow up with that, like I said, the investments and popping out and shaking hands, just doing shit like this, just whatever it takes to do things to show, you know, you're really about that. You know what I mean?
So I mean, it seems like it's similar too for you, Wax, because you also have your own label.
Yeah.
And was that were your first projects dropping under your own label?
Nah, my first 2 projects I dropped on different labels. I was finding Dope Boys. I didn't have enough money, so whatever Dope Boy had his own label, I would drop under that label. And until I got enough money in my pocket, I did it all on my own label. From after my second solo album, I was able to start my own label and follow the blueprint that Woodie was laying down, Tone was laying down. Because I seen Tone doing it too, so I was able to, I knew what I wanted to do. It just took me a couple albums before I was able to start Pyrex on my own.
Right. And so, was it also helpful to have Woodie's guidance as you were going into that transition too?
Yeah, because I even though I was on other labels, I did maintain ownership. I never sold ownership of. So I got my whole catalog is I possess everything, and I didn't sell rights off to nobody.
That's what's up.
Anywhere along, even for features and whatnot, I always did handshake deals, and I just didn't sign anything just to maintain that and make it easy to have all my catalog consolidated.
And both of y'all have, under these labels, y'all have put out solo albums, collaboration albums, compilations, other artists. What are some of the most important lessons you've learned running your own labels as an artist?
Say, man, you could leave a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. You know, the same things I had experienced is, and I think Wood probably was in a similar situation, is you could do stuff for people, give them an opportunity, like he would gave me an opportunity, but then people are like, cool, what's next? What's next? Then all of a sudden it's not enough. So sometimes you got to find artists that are hungry, need to give them the tools, give them everything they need, show them, and they need to be hungry themselves, you know what I'm saying? And bring stuff to the table, not just, you know. So me learning, I don't work with many artists because of, you know, eventually people, you know, they want what you got, they want the love, and if it doesn't happen fast enough, they blame the label, they blame you, you know what I'm saying?
Somebody out there created a cold misconception that becoming a musician is like finding a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow somewhere or something. Like, this shit's actually work. I know it look good in stories and magazines and shit, like he just got an advancement because of a song, man. And there's so much money go into songs before they even get recognized by a label or a radio station before an advance comes or anything. Like, music is work like anything else. It's a lot of days where you don't get paid. It's a lot of days you don't want to go to work and you wake up, all that shit. And the people that treat it like an actual job and put in the work behind the scenes, besides just making a song or shooting a video, like them are the ones that usually turn it to paying. They pay taxes on that at the end of the month, and it's a livelihood for them, and it's a source of income for a long time. But music's definitely it's a no days off kind of job too. You could give it as much as you want or as little as you want, but the person that put in the most work gonna get the most results out of it. Is how I feel about it.
That's right.
I think that's the way it's always been, but like the way it's transpired now, that's what happens. Like you said, someone drops one song, it catches a wave, blows up, gets a bunch of millions of views. The cool part of that is, now could you follow up? The next song don't do that. The next song don't do that. Now you came and went. Now you didn't have them calluses. You didn't go through all them struggles and invest in yourself and learning. You didn't have that experience to bounce back from that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why a lot of people come and go. I think it just comes too fast from them. You know, they don't appreciate it. Just like people that get money for the first time. You start touching the bag for your first time, what they usually do, they blow that bag.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got to go broke a couple of times to realize how to, you know, money management, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Same thing with this clout, fame, whatever people look for, you know?
Well, that's what I love about this underground shit is that there can be someone you never heard of, you never seen, nothing, but they know how to get it. They know where their audience is. They know where to tour. They know what kind of stuff to put out. They got their publishing straight. They got their plugs all lined up. And whereas somebody who, like you said, blows up, signs a record deal, 9 times out of 10, they're getting fucked because they don't understand how this shit actually works.
That man all the money, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I'm famous, I'm popular, I got some views and some followers, but where's that bag?
Exactly.
Homeboy over there eating off you, you know?
Yeah, if you come in, a lot of new artists, they think they want a major deal off top, and they just want to be a big artist from the top. But if you don't take, even if you come from underground and you ain't never did nothing, go straight to the majors. If you don't take the time to learn what they're doing for you, if that deal you got in place ever goes bad and you ain't picked up by another major, then you gotta rely on what you learned in the music industry to get your shit back going. And if you ain't learned shit, you're gonna fall right on your face. It's a no-brainer, you know? So all upcoming artists out there, you getting into music, learn that shit. Don't just let people do it for you, whether it be reading through a contract, the terms and conditions of your contracts, just everything. If it's Pro Tools, editing on a camera, whatever is happening around you, you should try and learn that as much as you can in all aspects and fields of that in case the day ever come, you got to be the one putting it all together yourself. You don't want to not continue doing something you love because you didn't get the knowledge behind it one day.
And you had a major label situation, right? You were signed to Akon's label at one point.
I was signed with Akon's, and it was bad timing, you know? Like, it seemed like a dream come true scenario when I got into it. I'm working with Akon and his brother Boo, and they dealing with all the biggest artists in the music industry at the time, but I didn't anticipate Akon, right around the time I came, Akon signed Lady Gaga, and he makes more money off a small percentage of her career than he ever made off of his own career. So it was okay for him to retire without no warning or nothing. So, but I didn't. That's one of the things that made me realize the difference in a global #1 hit and a global artist and just somebody #1 in the United States. Like, it's a big difference in them checks that come in on the back end of those.
Yeah, that's a trip.
Two things.
That's a trip. I'm sure it was still good for you to kind of look behind the curtain and see how that works, though.
Yeah, for sure. I got to meet a lot of powerful people and just be in some big sessions and watch some big records get produced and manufactured. But it was a good learning curve in totality. But still was able to learn through that. I did the Universal deal with Bash for the first album. I was on Sugar, the album, what was that called? Get Wiggy or something? I don't even remember no more.
Was that with the singer cat too?
Yeah, Frankie J?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got to see Bash do his signing to Universal, and I had different exposure to the majors just to be able to learn. Even when I wasn't signing my own deals, I was learning on behind the scenes. Smoking Nephew, that's what it was, for sure. I just got that plaque for that thing, too.
That's what's up.
I did want to add on to that. How did
with Convict?
Yeah. I mean, how did the Akon deal?
I was doing, Napoleon from the Outlaws was working with an artist in Arizona. I mean, not an artist, it was a label in Arizona called Loyalty. So he was working with it, and they did some work for hire for him, did a couple projects in Arizona, and they were trapping. They was trapping out. Back in the day, we used to have, it's called brickweed, where it was just full of seeds and it smelled like gasoline, and it used to come heavy from Mexico. And them pounds was dirt, like $100 a pound. They was flipping them things they was going from Arizona to Atlanta with them things, and I just got tied in the same circle as Akon brother Boo before he was doing all the Def Jam and everything. So I kicked it with him a few times before we started talking music, and then they brought me around the studio and we started working on the music aspect of it and got out. I was trying to get out the streets anyway, so we ended up flipping it over onto some music. But it happened in the streets, long story short, trafficking, man.
I wanted to ask both of y'all, where does your style come from? Because both of y'all, be saying some solid bars. I think, Wax, you have a lot of versatility, especially from when you started to what you're doing now. You've touched a lot of different styles, tone. Like you say, you kind of broke out of that box that some of these Northern Cali Latin rappers were in. What was influential to your rapping styles?
My style, I'm just everywhere with it. Every beat it's like a painter. A beat is a white canvas to me. I could grab some orange paint and throw it on that thing. Some yellow don't matter. Everything different. So I just go with it. And then I listen to a lot of music too. So if I hear bits and pieces of different stuff I listen to, I'll incorporate stuff to try and come with a different cadence of delivery from here to there. But I always try and do it in a way where it's not like biting. I just use inspiration. I don't take a specific melody or nothing from anyone. I just meet in the middle. Everything. I ain't got no preconceived way in my head I should be rapping when I hear a beat. It's always something different. I just try and match it.
That's what's up.
I'm not that versatile, man. I kind of stick to a formula that worked for me, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah, we do like the mob, hardcore shit growing up. But even now that I'm older, bro, I don't do too much of that because I'm an OG now, bro. You know what I mean? I try to shoot a different message. So what I try to do personally now is more enlighten people and motivate people with the music, you know?
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, man, because you really do be dropping gems on the gram, and it seems like people are responding well to it. And I appreciate it because, to me, I've always found that, like, some of the realest gangsters and street cats are also cool and respectful and not putting it on too thick, not putting, too much on certain topics. And I think it's dope to see you just push shit out there, like, shows people, yeah, you can actually be on some cool shit and have your respect in this game and still be a solid individual.
So, yeah. I think people are scared to be themselves, man. People look at that as weakness, and that's insecurity. Like, I'm not insecure by any means. I'm, proud of where I come from and what I am and what I've evolved to. And one of it is just also, too, it's like a guilt thing, man. I really lost a lot of my close friends to this game. Like, this shit ain't no joke, you know what I'm saying? I lost both my crew. I'd walk in 30 deep fucking 10 years ago, you know what I'm saying? We're down to minimal, And on top of that, trust issues and all that stuff. So once you see how the game really takes your loved ones, and the scars and the pain, it's like I don't want to lead my people down that direction to see that. If that's what you want to do, hey, do your thing. Go all in, bro. Be a G about it, man. But, like, if you got some potential to do something, bro, like, I'd rather see you win and get money and support your family and let's ball out. You could be a real one and ball out. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like my vision with it, just trying to help people see that we could be successful, man. I'm still working on it myself. Like, sure. Shit, I'm around some big dogs sometimes. I'm low man on the totem pole. That inspires me. At least I know I'm in the right rooms. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, and if I could learn from them and kick the game to the homies that listen to me, it's just a full circle type of shit.
Yeah, and you're getting into other business ventures outside of music,
of course, too. Yeah, we have to. I mean, there's shit, there's for most people, there's an expiration date with music. But then again, not even if people fuck with you. Like bro's been in the game a long time, I've been in a long time, people fuck with us, so that's why I think we'll be able to do good. I think artists that strictly depend on just one thing, you know what I mean? It's hard. It has a
it's got expiration on that thing. If it ain't no retirement plan for rappers, so you better invest wisely in more than just exotic cars and jewelry, man, if you want to make it beyond this.
But I think, like I said real quick, though, and I'll tell bro this too, there's certain people that become more of a brand themselves.
Yeah.
So people might like AWAX, Tone, or, you, anybody, just any other group, they like you for you. They'll follow you no matter what you do in your journey. Not just like, oh, yeah, you had a cool song and that's it. You know what I'm saying? So once you become personable and they actually fuck with you and they, like, it's a lot easier to evolve in other businesses. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, I feel like I could sell anything right now.
Yeah, but that's an advantage also of learning the music business when you're coming up, what I was talking about earlier, because starting up a business is pretty much the same on any front. You got to put money into it to make money, and it's a startup cost. It's a lot of basics that go into business, and the same ones that in an independent record label in the music industry, it's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same...
it's the same principles.
Yeah, principles going into it business-wise.
There's no magic pill for any of it, man. Business, fitness, anything, bro. You got to put in the work and do the reps, bro.
Yeah, and all everything, marketing and financing and bookkeeping and taxes and work ethic and all that good shit. I tell people, man, I don't sell music. I don't sell content. I sell aluminum foil. I sell, fill in the blank. I sell industrial lubricant. Fill in the blank. Whatever they're doing to make that shit shit shake, that's what I'm applying to my creative work.
Yeah, straight up. And it goes back to, I'll say, for me, an example, like, I'm not going to discredit nothing I do, but there's a lot of talented artists that would get in the booth and gas just be spitting, but they couldn't do nothing with it because they didn't have the other tools behind it. Yep. Now, this dude could out-rap me a million miles per hour, but I'm going to just tell an authentic story, and I've invested in my studio, and I could produce something. I got producers. I could invest and put a product out, and okay, if this needs, and my formula, I grew up on oldies and R&B type of soul, so I was like, I incorporated that in my music, you know what I mean? I get female vocalists or male singers and stuff, and I found my formula, and I was able to fund it and put it out and get it in their face, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Waka Flocka wasn't even a rapper. He was just Gucci homie, and they was like, man, get in the booth. And he pretended his way into being a rapper. He didn't want to do that shit. He just never even learned how to write a rap. He just turned the mic on and he gonna say something.
That goes back, people fucked with him. He was personable. Like, I like bro, I was feeling him. You know what I'm saying? You can say anything right now and I fuck with you type of shit.
Yeah, your personality will take you a long way, and at the same time, if you're a fucking cornball or just a dick or just like a shitty-ass person, eventually that shit's gonna come to light,
go up
man.
A quick wave, you know, hey, man, this got 10 million views. Okay, we got next year.
That shit's gonna come out and bite you in the ass, man.
You're gonna be like that. You're like that. Got him.
Well, man, I appreciate y'all, man. I really love what y'all doing right now. Both of y'all been dropping a lot. Wax, you've been going crazy, charting on iTunes every drop, multiple albums every year. I really like that you brought back the Woodie World album, the Northern Expozure compilations. I think that's a really dope way to pay homage. And I think it's a really dope way to continue that by y'all two working together and dropping this album. I hope y'all continue to build on projects like this because I think it's a good look. And I think, you know, for anybody out there watching, I think these two cats deserve their place in the history of the Bay, man. They've been in the game for a minute. They've been putting in the work. They got fan bases and album sales to prove it. So, you know, that's why I wanted to bring y'all here representing the 925 Pittsburg and Antioch. And, you know, hopefully more people get to recognize what y'all are doing over the years because it don't look like it's slowing down.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having us, bro. You doing your thing too, man. It's a good look for the Bay, what you doing, and you've been in this for a minute too. You've been in the whole Bay Area scene. You've been a staple in this, so to see you branching off over into the history of the Bay and with everything you're doing with the podcast right now, man, hats off, bro. And but always, anything you need on my end, let's lock it in, bro.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you, bro. Likewise.
Sure, man. It's an honor, bro. This is dope, man, what you're doing, man. Enlightening people on the history and the whole everything, man. So,
yeah, a lot of people don't know how much game come from the Bay,
That's
man.
right.
He waking them up.
That's
you know
right.
What I mean?
That's right. Appreciate y'all, man. Let's continue to build. More success to you. Thank you, everybody out there watching, supporting us. Go cop the new album. The Redprint is out now.
Baby. Yeah, Redprint. Available everywhere. Get that thing.
History of the Bay.
Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay. Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay.